You'll see, we'll start off with a movie for 20 minutes and then we'll have a circle. And so I'd like to welcome Sharon and Heather and Charlene and thank them for the good work that they do. And one of the things that comes to mind with restorative practices is Dr. King had this wonderful phrase of creating the beloved community. I think it's another way of describing the kingdom of God. And restorative practices, to me, are a way of realizing that beloved community. So I appreciate you guys coming this morning and sharing your wisdom with us. So thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather. I'm not going to talk a long time.
And I'm Sharon, and we'll talk afterwards.
Right.
I think that would be the best way. We'll introduce how we came to this and more.
And Charlene just is here to tell you a little bit about the film and how it came to be.
The film was a student in college, and he experienced restorative justice, and he wanted to present it in a way that was really unique through his work. And so it took a while to piece everything together and make sure that it came through in the best way possible. And I feel like with this video, you guys will really get a good start. What it is.
It took about a year to create.
I'm going to go line by line. You are my other me. If I do harm to you, some people have been in restorative justice with me, that last year and the year before have been really rough on me. They have not been the best years by any means. I just had, things going on with me, with my family, growing up, becoming an adult, finishing school, and having something like the circle to go to every day, talk with Heather, talk with the other students in there, is really what I could say carried me through that. Restorative justice isn't just a place to go and talk, a place to let out your feelings. It's also an amazing tool that everybody should know about. I feel like I'm really prepared to get out of high school, to get into the world, and take on all the struggles that come with that. And I don't know if I could say the same without having been in restorative justice. Thank you.
Just before we get started in opening today, do you all have your permission slips for the conference this week and next week?
At first it's kind of like, oh, I gotta go to this class.
It's easy. We just sit in there and we talk about our families. That's cool.
Oh, that sounds easy. And I was like, well, I need English credits. So let me ask Heather to let me in.
Make sure you have your talking piece of the piece.
For a straight week, I sat out the circle. I just said, hi, my name's Tony. There you go.
I didn't really participate. I just want to hear what everybody had to say and just consumed it in.
Went on break, not even a week into our break, my brother passed. When I came back, I was so disruptive and I was just like not trying to do it, kind of, like how I was raised. You don't talk about your feelings.
Okay, so let's check in today. Please say your name. How are you doing?
And then one day, they got to a topic that really hit me. Because at that time, I think I was having trouble with a relationship. I sat there, I was like, I need to speak out about it. As a check-in, I said, have you ever been discouraged about a friendship or a relationship? Raise your hand. So I was like, I felt like I wasn't alone. So then right there, I just began.
It just went from me not speaking to me telling other people about my experiences and how I handled it myself.
Seeing other students really transform the circle really kind of got me like, oh, maybe this is something interesting. And I did kind of start paying attention.
The more the stories kept rolling, the more I just kept telling them more about me, the more I opened up with myself, and the more I got to finally see what was really inside of me. And I don't know, it changed me.
Just seeing it actually change people was like, oh, maybe I can be one of those people too.
Okay, so as you can see, we're learning to prepare for our conference, right? Our conference is Friday. We're going to NCECA Friday.
Circle it's a way to reconnect with yourself. We always are constantly working on ourselves, making ourselves the best that we can be, and then helping other people become the best that they can be.
we're like a family that gather together every day, and it's like we sit at the round table and just talk, just pretty much just share our stories and see if we relate and we can help out people.
It's a process of that has enabled us to communicate better to those who are in need, and also use these skills to help our own lives.
What kind of questions?
We'll just try to see if it can feed. It's not YouTube, this is the mail. Check over YouTube. Okay.
But when you get in there, it's kind of like what's on the outside gets stripped down, and you really see each other for what's inside.
We have a unique opportunity, I think, to stay connected with the school. So instead of me just coming and having my group of friends and going to classes and going home, I have my group of friends, and then through restorative justice, I meet everybody else in the school.
You just walk down the hallways and you're like, oh, hey, how you been? And things like that. Like, at a regular high school, who really does that,
Yeah, it's hard to be the shy guy here, because everybody's like, what's your name? What do you do? What do you do for fun? Everybody's all about it.
So what makes a relationship healthy?
You think about how often we go about our lives and we never get to share the things that are going on with us that we really need people to know, because we need to not be alone. That seems to be just the norm in life in general, at work, at school, and everything, that we're all carrying these things and we never get to speak to it. I think a lot of our connections now are more artificial. They're not as deep. And the thing with media is so many times we get to put the me that we want everybody to see and know, and we don't put out all of those other pieces that really make us real and connect us to people. And the circle somehow, it just brings out the truth and the experiences and the real you in a way that nothing else can.
And Sika is the material world. And so I thought it would be a really great opportunity to write this proposal about talking piece, how it's used in restorative justice circles, and just how handmade objects carry stories.
Talking pieces hold so much power in them. They're not just objects. They have stories and memories about them, with them, in them. And when you're in a circle and you're using your talking piece, you're sharing it with people that kind of feel the power of the object. I'm pretty nervous, but I'm also really excited because this is not something everyone gets to do every day,
I'm really proud of you guys, and I'm glad to be able to do this with you. I feel really like we're in good hands.
And I'm just grateful for all of you guys. Like Heather said, we're not always going to be together today, but we're going to be together.
Being part of this is a great experience, and it'd be great to actually carry it on as a tradition and represent the Alliance of the school. And we love the school.
I was laying in bed and kind of hit me that I'm leading a circle today. But I'm kind of glad we passed this around because I was watching it and pulled it, and it's going to be my first, so it's kind of like everyone is going to be with me, so I don't have to be a little nervous.
So just close your eyes with sound and take 3 deep breaths. So now I'd like you all to just imagine yourselves in the space and the volume where we're going to be today. And I invite you to consider that you are all part of a larger community, and that today we have an opportunity to share the work that we do with others. Know that whatever you're feeling in that moment, whether nervousness or excitement or groundedness, that all of it is appropriate. And know that when you're speaking, and even if you're the only voice that's filling the room, that we're all together and we're all holding and supporting one another.
Owen had the idea to create a school that was LGBT friendly, bully free, and where kids could have a voice and power in their community. We have a mission of restorative justice to teach people how to communicate and become better people in their communities.
Our circle process.
Through the circle process, you'll learn a little bit more about that.
All right, pick your partner.
For the circle, we do follow certain guidelines. The first one is respect the talking piece. Another one is speak from the heart and listen from the heart. And then another one is respect confidentiality. So what's said in the circle stays in the circle.
So we're going to start off with a game. I know we're just going to play a game.
So at the Alliance School, we hold circles to support ourselves and each other. We hold community building circles in classrooms and for the entire school. We also support others in taking responsibility and reporting harm that they may have committed. We've worked with people locally, nationally, and internationally to share this. That's why we have our students here today.
What's an obstacle that you're facing, and how can you use your work to overcome it?
That was a big deal, to go in front of art collectors from all over the world, professors from major universities. Really cool to see that ballroom and see every student facilitating their specific circle.
The obstacle that I'm facing is aging. I was so surprised to like how open they were. I think that they weren't ready for how real the circle was. Because they were like, you know, we were crying, and I was just like, man, this.
Never been the same. It's wonderful.
Know that whenever you're feeling that.
No, before that it was Tank Younger and Bob Horner.
And even if you're the only voice that's filling the room.
We're going to cheat the audio a little bit. Can you hear it okay?
Yeah.
Tina Owen had the idea to create a school that was LGBT friendly, bully free, where kids could have a voice and power in their community. We have a mission of restorative justice to teach people how to communicate and become better people in their communities.
Our circle process.
Through the circle process, you'll learn a little bit more about that.
All right, pick your partner.
For the circle, we do follow certain guidelines. The first one is respect the talking piece. Another one is speak from the heart and listen from the heart. And then another one is respect confidentiality. So what's said in the circle stays in the circle.
So we're going to start off with a game. I know we're just going to play a game.
So at the Alliance School, we hold circles to support ourselves and each other. We hold community building circles in classrooms and for the entire school. We also support others in taking responsibility and reporting harm that they may have committed. We've worked with people locally, nationally, and internationally to share this work. And that's why we have our students here today.
What's an obstacle that you're facing, and how can you use your work to overcome it?
That was a big deal, to go in front of art collectors from all over the world, professors from major universities all around the country. It was really cool to see that ballroom and see every student facilitating their specific circle.
The obstacle that I'm facing is aging.
I was so surprised to like how open they were. I think that they weren't ready for how real the circle was, because they were like, you know, we were crying. And I was just like, man, this went from, you know, being such a surface topic to like going really deep, really fast. Like when things like that happen, I'm like, this is why I love circle.
When you go through, it touches me, and lets me be able to feel like I'm not alone.
I was just bowled over by the whole concept of the Alliance School. I mean, I knew a little bit about it, but it just seems to me like a model that could be used all over Milwaukee and other places, as well as all over the country.
I heard about this, but I never experienced it. It's very different, I think, to experience it. The level of maturity of the students and how in the circle they really took a hold of the whole conversation. I felt like a child, actually. And I'm actually taking some tips that I'm going to apply myself.
I do harm to you.
I do harm to myself.
I do harm to myself.
If I love and respect you.
If I love and respect you.
I love and respect myself.
I love and respect myself.
Opening up and finding your comfort zone is really about working on yourself. We kind of had just a really big circle with a whole bunch of people that are really interested in getting restorative justice into their workplaces, into their schools, into these organizations that they're starting up. This is what I need for today to be a good day. And then finding people and saying, you know, what do you need for today to be a good day? Just being able to sit there with a whole bunch of adults and like, tell them why it works for us and how it can work for them. It's pretty nice.
We always really listen for where the people who are in the session want to be when they're done with the session. And we're constantly looking at, you know, how do we create a community with the people with whom we're working in a very short period of time.
Keep their hands on your shoulder.
We use a game or two that really connects with the work that we're doing.
So what did you notice about yourself and others while playing the game? I noticed that I did look into the eyes.
In Native cultures, people use games as a means of looking at how we reflect, how we play our lives, so to speak. And so, to that extent, we might play one or two games, but then we really spend time digging in to whatever issue is at hand. People can begin to share their stories and build community. And Jeremiah, one of our experienced circle keepers, said, I think for this conference, all of the newer circle keepers should lead. I think it's time for us to sit back and let them take the lead.
Tell a story about a conflict that you faced.
And that's what we did. In some circles, people were sitting right next to each other, you know, and they were just doing some incredible coaching. In some circles, the person was sitting right across, just kind of sending a lot of love and support and letting the other person, you know, go forward as necessary.
I just have to say I'm really proud of Brianna. She did a really good job leading her circle.
I was trying to say, could y'all repeat after me? And that wasn't coming out. Like, nothing was coming out, but Abby helped me, so.
I was really proud of Esme.
Yeah.
Because she did an amazing job holding the circle, leading the circle.
She did a really good job of really put down fishing questions.
I still get nervous anytime because I feel like I don't want to present this process in the wrong way.
So when they say circles, I think they think circles is just saying the circle.
Yeah.
And when we think circle, we think of restorative justice, because like they'll say circle and then they'll say restorative justice.
I think it's important for us to help people understand that it's a process and it takes time. It's not instant coffee. There's always like something new in education. There's always a new thing. People are always getting some kind of a training, get a binder, get a kit. You go back, you put it in your school, you do it. You know, and so I think a lot of times people kind of see this as the same thing. The real gift in all of this is really taking the time to sit with ourselves. And I have the privilege of 100 minutes, 4 days a week, sitting with myself, with my students. And we really consider what happens in the circle of practice. This is a practice. And the idea is that what we're cultivating here, we take outside of our lives.
There has to be a want to be there and a want to share. And you know, you can't just go in there and be with people you don't know, and then you start asking all these personal questions. It's really something that if you don't buy in, it can't be forced on you, you know. You have to be willing and you have to be ready to step into this process, because you can't just teach it and you can't just learn it. It goes both ways. Whether you're the student or whether you're the teacher, it's a growing process from the beginning to the end.
I mean, there's always a few people that are like, I don't know, that's just not going to work. Like, if I had my students do this, it wouldn't work. And if a teacher brought it to their classroom with that energy, it wouldn't work. Yeah, it's not a formula. It's not a, like, you follow these steps and it works. You really have to feel it and understand it, you know, to get into that. You have to experience it.
The reason that this works here is that we have a leader who knows how to share power. And I think that if a principal is able to stand strongly in herself or himself, then what happens is the staff and the students then take ownership and share responsibility in the school in a powerful, meaningful way. And I see that happening here. I see young people who have a sense of who they are. I see young people who are willing to listen to themselves. I see young people who are willing to be honest about when they're bumping up against things within themselves or around them, and being willing to take responsibility for how they're handling their lives.
Okay, let's go with the guidelines first. No cell phones, no side talking, respect the talking pieces,
Once a semester, every circle keeper leads their own circle. We come up with the questions and the theme, and we run a circle like we would any other day.
We think of questions that have to do with what's going on in the whole entire school.
The students really listen to what's up in the school and what kind of issues are present.
How do you set and maintain boundaries, and what do you do when someone crosses them?
We have about 12 different circles going at once, and there are students who are facilitating and leading those circles, and the adults are sitting and participating.
So the staff meets and we do the questions that the students are going to be going through, just so we can see how we're going to react to them, how they're going to react to them, like what we might need to consider.
Ah, man, it's just a really great feeling just to speak about what I've been through and to see it actually affecting people who are listening to me and like taking it in, you know, what I've done. I don't know, I feel like a leader, you know what I mean? I feel like people are actually listening and they trust me with, you know, to tell them stuff, to help them and stuff.
Us circle keepers, we're kind of like the, you know, first responders, like not security, but like kind of rescuers. Like we're here to fix things.
A lot of students, like when there's something going on, they know, like go and get this person, they're a circle keeper, they know how to handle this. You have all these people that recognize what you do for the school, what you do in your class, and they know that when they need someone, they can come for you.
It's definitely had an impact in the school-wide community because people request it. Students will come and say, I'm getting really mad, we're going to end up fighting, we need to have a circle. It's just something that anybody can pick up and use when they need to, instead of something that people are sent to. You know, it's become the thing that people want first.
students can request a circle. If a student has done something where they have hurt someone within the community or hurt the community itself, that student has the opportunity to come to the circle.
Repair harm circles we usually do when someone's done something to affect another person or the whole school. If it's a fight, we'll separate two people and we'll have circles individually with both of them, and we'll see if they're ready to take responsibility for what they did. And if they are, then we'll put them in a circle together.
Basically what we're trying to do is get through the problem and then get to the root of the problem. So one thing Heather always tells us is that it's never what you can see, it's always the stuff underneath that.
We'll really try to gain a deeper understanding, connect with that person about why they landed in that particular situation, what led up to that, what are they thinking about, and we look at how the community was impacted and how the harm can be repaired, and then work and moving the person with dignity back into the community.
Like based on what they like to do and things like that, we'll come up with things that they can do to help, show the school that they are sorry.
And at the end, most times conclusion, it's, repaired. We prepared the relationship, not only the situation, but probably be given it back their heads like when this happens again. I'm learning from the circle that I could take a different approach to this.
Because at the end of the day, we're like a family here. So when something happens like that, like, fighting or something, we take that really personal, like, why would you guys jeopardize or like hurt the family like that, like it's not, obviously it's not good.
Newer students, when they sit for their first time in a repair harm circle, and we ask the question, who was affected by this experience? I watched students shift in that moment as the student begins to understand that, oh, it wasn't just me, it wasn't just this other person, it wasn't just my mother, or her mother, or his mother, it was all of these other people in the community, and this is how it affected the other community. Wow, these people really care about me. My actions made a difference.
And so your first round of questions are all about facts. Then the second round of feelings.
The peer justice councils are for people who are facing expulsion, so very serious charges.
Kids from the circle class get together.
The student comes in with a parent, and we sit down and talk about, the situation.
So our role here as a peer justice council members is not to judge you at all. We're there to just get facts about what happened, understand the feelings about how people were affected, talk to you about what needs to be fixed to repair the harm, and support you to make better future decisions.
The council will work with the person and will determine or repair for any harm that was caused. Then the council will be listening for a need that has to be met. So sometimes the student is really struggling with how to deal with anger. And if people are angry, there's a reason. And so students are lashing out even though their behavior isn't appropriate and it might not be safe for them or for other people. There's a reason that behavior is happening. So the students will look at what need is unmet.
When you really talk to them and stuff, it's like, oh, it's not even, about the situation. It's, what's really going on at home or what's going on with them.
There are some students that don't really care, and they're like, okay, expel me, suspend me, But then there are those students that were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they really want that chance to show that that really was a mistake, and they're willing to do all these different things to prove that.
Yeah, what do you like to do outside of school?
And then the third piece of that is developing skill. Really looking at what does this student like to do? Where does this person find joy? What are their talents? What can we create? Recently we had a peer justice council for students here, and part of the personal development piece was taking an acting class because this person loves to act and really sought a lot of attention in really inappropriate ways, but really liked to be on stage. So we were trying to support her in finding really productive ways to get that attention.
The first time we ever had that in here, I called up with one of them after, and they just said that that this really helped them and that their mother was in there and they got to see their mother cry and stuff, and they seen how it really affected, their loved ones around them. So man, that would have saved me too, like stuff like that, like having that person to talk to. If I had that person to talk to in middle school, I wouldn't be here now. Like I'd be having a job already out of school, I've been on the right track. Somebody talked to me about my emotions, how I feel in school, and how I should deal with things. That would have saved me.
Welcome families and guests to the Lions School graduation 2013. Thank you all for joining us in celebrating this great day.
Hello everybody.
everybody. Just have a couple words I'd like to say. Circle really knew what I needed before I even knew what I needed. You know, like, what's the irony of me trying to get in Circle just to get an easy A? And, you know, like, such a tragedy happening to me. It was just kind of, it was meant to be. I want to thank the senior class for supporting me also in my loss. I really appreciate you guys. You know, everyone's been so supportive, and glad to say I'm gonna drink more. And I'm not over my brother's passing, but I can obviously talk about him now and honor him. He always pushed for me to graduate, so I'll be the first to graduate in June.
Laura Gallegos.
Tonight's valedictorian son was smart, compassionate, humble, and kind. His graduating with the highest GPA of the graduating class and the highest GPA to be earned in any graduating senior in the history of Alliance.
I never thought I would get that far, you know, in this kind of program.
Tony Sayara.
I really trust that all of you will continue to stand in your power, and that you continue to look even at the most difficult moments in life as opportunities to learn and grow.
You know, the skills that we learn in Circle, I'll forever take with me, like wherever I go, either in the workplace or at home, or like someday with my children.
Once you learn how to carry, how to hold the Circle process, it's something you never lose. It's like taking your first step as a child.
As you become more aware of yourself and things around you, you start to feel like the literal power of it. It'll carry itself.
If you're really dedicated to it and you're really open-minded and searching hard, like we say, you'll find peace with yourself.
You invite everybody to close the circle, please. And then Charlene's going to lead us.
I think we need to come out together. Don is still out. Okay,
Thank you.
Everybody can stand.
You are my me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself.
Hi, my name's Don. I'm retired, so I have time to work at the Just One More food ministry for St. Matthew's. It's very rewarding. We feed about 1,500 people a month through sister churches in the community. And also in my spare time, I do light board for the Sunset Playhouse, so I get to see actors and get to see musicals 3 or 4 times, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Hi, I'm Chuck, and I'm doing fine, and I like to play with my grandchildren.
I'm Carl, I'm about a B+, and I like to read and sleep.
I'm Petey, I'm doing well, and I like to read murder mysteries.
I'm Carol, and I'm okay, and in my spare time I like to cook.
I'm Diane, and I'm probably at a B-, C+ today. I'm retired, so I spend every day with my 2 youngest granddaughters, and I enjoy reading.
I'm Leslie, and I'm really great today, and I love to do all things Martha. In the Bible, not Stuart.
I'm Helen, and I'm pretty good today. And I spend a lot of time visiting my friends who are homebound. And so it's been a revealing nature as life goes on.
Hi, I'm Colleen, and I'm good. And this week I'm hoping to sign a lease on my new pottery studio. Oh.
Hi, I'm Doug. I'm doing great, and I enjoy reading.
Hi, I'm Thad. I'm doing well, and I enjoy woodworking.
Hi, I'm Britt. I'm doing okay, and I like to sit on the beach.
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm doing fine, and I like to play with my grandchildren.
I'm Matt. I'm middling and wrestling today. And I enjoy writing creatively.
My name is Michael. I'm doing really well, and I enjoy swimming with my boys.
My name's Connor. I'm doing pretty good. Although last night I was hard on my kids, and I feel bad about that. And I enjoy playing chess.
My name is Sue, and I'm doing great. And in my free time, I like to hang out with the kids that fill half me, otherwise my animals.
I'm Margaret, and I'm good. And Tim and I just got recumbent tricycles, so we're looking forward to wiping out.
I'm Dick. I'm an avid reader, and I'm doing very well today.
Trudy, feeling great, and like music, reading, masterpiece theater.
I'm Maeve. I'm doing well, and I like to read.
I'm Lisa, and I'm doing well, and I like to hike and paint.
I'm Sharon, and I'm doing well, and I enjoy walking in nature and dancing.
I'm Heather. I'm grateful, and I enjoy the beach, looking for one, playing with my children, and doing creative work.
So we're going to talk about the guidelines. The first is the talking piece. This is the talking piece, and whoever has a talking piece is the only one talking, the ones are listening. Also, respect confidentiality. So whatever it says here, it stays here. And listen from the heart, speak from the heart, and
I just wanted to share the story of this talking piece. Someone asked before about talking pieces, and the talking pieces that you saw in the video were created by our students. And this one is very special because last year, my students and I hosted a group of people from Israel and Palestine who were on a diplomatic tour of the United States looking at solutions toward peacekeeping, and our students hosted them, and they gifted this with us. So this is very special, and it says Bethlehem, so I thought it was very appropriate. And I'm going to just turn it over to Sharon to lead us in questions.
Okay.
Well, we just wanted to offer you the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have from the video, or questions you might have had beforehand in understanding restorative practices. I think first maybe we should just give a little background ourselves and how we came to this. About 15 years ago, my husband was a DA and a prosecutor in the DA's office in Milwaukee County, and was looking for ways to bring a better approach to the criminal justice system. And he did a lot of research and ended up going to a training in Minnesota in restorative justice, and was very taken with it, and ended up bringing those trainers to Milwaukee and training a huge circle of people in Milwaukee from nonprofits and also within the criminal justice system. And as a result of that, the conferencing program started in the DA's office, which was an opportunity to bring community members and the victim and the offenders, and within the circle to talk about what happened when there was an offense, and how it affected people and how to repair the harm. And as a result of those circles, instead of going direct with with misdemeanors, not with more minor offenses, they started with, instead of going to trial within the circle, they would look at ways of repairing the harm. And as you saw in the video, they would come up with a list of things that the person could do to repair the harm. And if they did that within a certain amount of days, they would not have to go to trial. So it was clearly repairing the harm. And there was, it's still going on in the criminal justice system now. And in about 2008, he went to the Milwaukee Public Schools, because he saw the same, what happens in the criminal justice system is he found that when people made mistakes, they would go to jail, and that would be the end. How can you repair the harm from that? And he saw the same thing happen in Milwaukee Public Schools. When students made mistakes, they would get suspended or have to be taken out of school, which is basic. And we know that within Milwaukee Public Schools, the most recent statistic I heard was that a student who is expelled from school is 13 times more likely to end up in prison than a student who wasn't. So clearly this was something that could be helpful to the schools, and it is going on in Milwaukee Public Schools, and also within, and now at Alliance High School. And I, 15 years ago, was very fortunate to be part of the circle. I've been working in workplaces and with nonprofit organizations, teaching restorative practices there. It's not something that only needs to happen in schools. It's something that we did within our family, and it's something that can really is a way to not only go straight to a conflict, but it's a community building. It's a way of communicating better. And somebody asked me earlier, is this something that you only use in conflict? No, it's really best if you start out by understanding the process and communicating well, so that when a conflict does come, it's not seen as a punishment. It's seen as part of the way we communicate. So that gives just a sense. And again, if you have further questions, you can go to that. But I just wanted to give you that background.
So I've been teaching in the Milwaukee Public Schools for almost 20 years, and I've always done work relative to peer mediation and restorative practices. So I've been at Alliance for 4 years, and this work has just been a natural process for me. You see how we use the process at Alliance, and I have 3 children who are 10, 6, and 4. 5 today. My son's birthday is today. And we use this with our family as well. So it's a beautiful process that I continue to develop my understanding and appreciation for.
I came to Alliance around 3 years ago, and it's kind of funny how I ended up in that class. I kind of just ended up there. It wasn't really in my schedule, and things happen like they're supposed to. And at first you're like really held back and like you don't know what to expect, and it's really like scary. But then when you hear the voices of everyone and see where they're coming from, you really see that you're not alone. That there's many people that that have a lot of things in common with you, and then you start sharing and you see how your story helped other people and how other people's story helped you. And when you're really able to work on yourself, you're really able to understand the other person better and help them. And so really helping other students, other people that come to learn about it, and it's really fun.
Any questions you might have? And you can hold the talking piece and we'll just answer.
Yeah, I still don't understand the process. I mean, what is the process? How do these circles work? I'm not clear on that.
It's first when we gather in a circle, guidelines are shared. And so we explain the concept of the talking piece, that only the person holding it can speak. The idea behind that is oftentimes we're in a meeting and 2, 3, 4 people dominate. And so we don't often get the wisdom of everyone in the circle. And often it's not an equal opportunity for everyone to speak. So the idea of the talking piece is that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. And many times as a facilitator, I will say, try to ensure that you keep your speaking concise so that everyone, we have this amount of time, we have this amount of questions. Let's try to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. And what it does is it's amazing how someone who might have said this in this lawn and says it in this lawn says it's so much better. But it's not only that, but that everyone has an opportunity to share. And so it's a very good consensus building tool because of that. And it's a way to, what basically happens is the facilitator asks a question and then everybody has an equal opportunity to answer that. And people can pass, which is fine. And then you might ask the question again and that person would be ready to ask or respond to that question. But it's a process so that it's a really community building process, so that everyone feels that they're part and that their voice is heard.
One of our students said it beautifully, Tony, who is the valedictorian. He said it's a very simple process to learn, but very difficult to master. And so this is based in Native American tradition, so it's a sacred ceremony. That's why we always have a candle in the center. We start with an opening and a closing, and really hold ourselves and each other to the guidelines. So, and we have other processes. This is for community building. Our classes run this way every day. But when we have a repair harm circle, the focus is a bit different. When there's a pure justice council, the focus is a bit different. Sometimes students come in when they're having a difficult day. We listen to that person and try to support that person. But what makes it different from other forums is that we're not interested in giving people advice. We're interested in listening and paying attention to the stories in our life that might be supportive of them. So it's a skill that students really develop over time. And staff too. Our staff uses it.
2 questions. One, is Alliance grounded in Milwaukee Public Schools, or is it a charter school? Or?
It's an MPS instrumentality charter school. Yes.
Then the second question, I love the concept of consensus. Do you ever vote?
Yes. We do something called a fist to 5. We'll discuss something, we'll pass a couple of rounds. We'll say, if you don't agree, fist. If you agree, 5. You have something to say in the middle. Give us a 3 or 4, and then we'll vote that way.
One of the things about the Quakers is that they'll never vote. They'll wait for consensus if it takes all day in circles.
This is a high school, so they have English and math and all of that, but then the circle is another part of their day. Is that how it works?
Right. I'm also a licensed English teacher, and so it falls under the English requirements with the Common Core standards. The class is designed to address the Common Core standards amendment.
She just asked my question. So it's part of your daily schedule. It's not in addition to.
This is what makes it most effective. It's effective. It's part of the school's structure. And so yes, the students get credit for taking it. There's a beginning class, students who are newer to the process, and then we added an advanced class this year. It's just blown up in the last 4 years that I've been at Alliance. This is the first year we've had an advanced class.
So every student must go through this process.
basically every student experiences this process because once a quarter, in the video last year it was once a semester, but we moved it to once a quarter. Once a quarter, students lead circles. So everyone in the school experiences a community building circle. Circle keepers are chosen. We choose juniors and seniors, people who are really ready to step into themselves and lead. And they're the people who are in the circle class. And they're handpicked and referred, and some people will approach me. And then those people take the class, and then they do the other work that we discussed.
What kind of reception attitudes does this process have amongst the rest of Milwaukee Public Schools and the justice system?
I know that the justice system has a youth component where there are conferencing circles that happen as a result of the juvenile court. So that it is also done there, and there is a liaison between MPS and the justice system.
And in the schools, I think the schools are still trying to figure out how to roll it out. There is somebody in the district who is coordinating restorative practices, but different schools are at different places in doing the work. I think we're really fortunate at Alliance, and I mean this. Tina Owen is our teacher leader, and she knows really how to share power, and that's why it really works, because it's the model that is embedded in the whole school. It's not just about sitting in a circle, it's about taking the principles that we do in the circle and we take it out and it lives in the school. It's part of the school's discipline structure too, so it's very intermeshed.
Do the students that attend Alliance have had problems and that's why there are students there? Or are they people from the neighborhood, or how does the student body get there?
They hail from all over Milwaukee County, primarily from MPS, and they come to us for a variety of different reasons.
So a lot of the students there are people who have been bullied in other schools, not accepted for any reason, or they've dropped out, they don't feel safe, they don't feel comfortable in the schools. The schools are too big for them. They don't feel like they get enough attention from teachers to be able to get their work done. And so it's like they come from different places, and you're able to really feel like you're welcome and you have a voice. And you can, like with Circle, you can share that and see where everyone comes, and no matter where you come and where you are at the moment, you really find a bond.
We have about 175 students and about 40% special education population at this time. And a lot of our students are dealing with really serious issues, a lot of trauma, a lot of homelessness, a lot of other concerns. So our students are working with a lot.
How many years have you been in school?
This is our 10th year.
Have you heard back from any of your graduates? Do they keep in contact with you?
Yes.
And what sort of things do they say?
Well, the two young men in this video, they're just recent graduates from last year, Tony and Jeremiah. Jeremiah is on his way to law school, and Tony is in school at UWM and wants to become a math educator. So, our school leader recently took a survey of graduates, and a lot of people who reached out really expressed that they're working to find themselves and basically finding happiness with their lives. And what they found that was helpful was the process of being connected to a community. People are at different stages of readiness in terms of what they want to do with their career after school.
Kind of curious about the connecting points between the school, the students, and then the home life. You know, have parents, grandparents, friends integrated into the system, you know, in the process that you're doing, and then brought it back home again. Because it's such a unique approach that, and none of us come from that kind of background. I didn't come from that background. I'm going to speak on behalf of most people in this room. That to bridge that environment from school back out into culture, have you seen any connectivity that has occurred within the family unit of the students? You know, it's, in other words, changed how they communicate.
Shirley and I are having this conversation on the way here.
Yeah, I feel, it's helped for me. I feel like when I was younger, I didn't have as a younger child, you kind of feel like you don't really have much of a voice. So using this process, I'm able to really approach my younger siblings and younger cousins to really understand where they're coming from and really listen to them and see their point of view on things. And I feel like, you know, it really helps to see other people's side, and no matter what age you are, you have a voice. And so I feel that with my family, I'm being able to connect with them and see, you know, where they're at, and if they're having a difficult time, like, we can talk about it, and it's okay, which is not always able to affect.
And even we had a parent circle, and Sharon came to help at the beginning of the year. We had our new student orientation, so we had a new student circle, and then we also had parent circles for new parents, and the parents loved the process. And we had a mother-daughter, or a mother and guardian circle earlier in the year, and we want to continue to do that. But we're beginning to broaden that more.
Also, Tony, who was in the film, I was there one day and he came in and he said that he's at UWM now, and there are a lot of issues there right now in regards to security and working with the police and security in the area. And so he led a circle there, and he came one day and told us about it, and everyone was wowed by that, and you know, he's going to be doing it more. So they take it with them.
Yeah, I had a thought that's similar to that, and along that same strain is the application of this to other organizations. Do you find at the school that you have staff-only circles?
Yes.
That don't include the kids, but also, and does it have the potential to go, you know, to a superintendent or a board, or go beyond? Are there applications? I have to assume it's transferable to other organizations.
I can let Sharon speak to the organizations in particular, but what I will say is that one of our circle keepers, Ernesto, called up Bob Peterson, the president of the MTEA, and said, hey Bob, we heard you were interested in restorative practices. Why don't you come sit with our class so we can share what we do with you? And basically, we do this as a staff. Last quarter, we had a lot of trouble, a lot of things were going on with our students, and we were trying to figure out how to work with them best. So we held a staff circle, and it really ended up being really for us to get the support we needed to work out some issues. So we use it as a staff. And we do that just to really connect with each other too. In terms of, I think I would love to have school board members sit in a circle. They just saw this video because we were up for a charter renewal for our contract. And we received a 2-year renewal. So I would love for them to come. So yes, they can transfer, anyone can sit in a circle. And these students are incredibly capable and leading. They've had people come from other countries and that kind of process.
So it sounds like a couple of things are really taught through this emotional intelligence and communication skills. Do you have any formal curriculum pieces you integrate into the circle to try and help the students learn those pieces? Or
yes, it's all there. In terms of course, standards, if you're talking about that and speaking and listening, there's some very discrete skills around how you understand a group of people, how you understand messages, how you look at, analyze what someone's saying and how they're saying it, and determine how you're going to address a particular group of people. And so there are so many skills embedded in this. Did you want to speak more about how organizations use this?
You want me to tell this story?
Yeah, I do.
So I was working with GE healthcare, and the head of it was a unit that they were making ultrasound equipment, and there were they wanted to bring together and have a team building of people from Europe that were working on this and people from the States. And so I was working with the head of HR, and I said, well, what are your issues? And he said that, well, they're not getting along real well lately because they ended up both working on the same project and competing with each other. And so they're really angry about that. And that's why we want to have this team building. And I said, well, why did that happen? And he said, well, I sort of made a mistake. I told them both to do it, basically, and it cost a lot of money, and it was a long story, but the point is that I said, well, we're going to be doing this circle process, and I explained to him what it was, and I said, what if at the beginning of the circle process you apologize? And he was like, what? And I sort of coached him on how to do that. And so we started out with the circle with the talking piece, there was about, I would say, about 40 people there. And we started very similar to the way we started today, a check-in, how you doing, explain how the process works. And then I took the talking piece back and I handed it over to him and I said he has something he wants to share with you. And he apologized. And then I took back the talking piece and I said, what I would like right now is for each of you to share with you how you feel about hearing that. And it was amazing because each person talked about how it affected them, this affected them, and how blown in their, one person said, I've worked with GE for 30 years, and so many mistakes have happened. Nobody has, no person has ever apologized. And the warmth and the camaraderie and the feeling between these people as a result of doing this process together was amazing. And it completely repaired the harm as far as what was going on between these two groups of people. So it just gives an example of how this process can be used in many different ways.
We should be respectful of time. It's 5 to 11, and I know some people want to go to 11 o'clock service. Two things. One is, a question is asked about in the criminal justice system, and Judge Brunner up in Rice Lake in northwestern Wisconsin started to use restorative justice practices in the juvenile justice system over there. And in a 10-year period, the number of young people being sent to prison declined by 2/3, by 66%. I think that restorative justices and restorative practices are a very powerful tool for inviting us to live more authentically with each other. And I think a lot of our ills come from living inauthentically with ourselves and with each other. I wanted to thank Heather and Sharon and Charlene for coming and sharing today. And we have, I would like to invite you back in a year or so to come back and that we would continue this conversation. And you guys also wanted to mention a little bit about your circle keeping classes coming up. So if we want to end on that, that would be great.
Well, what we've, as a result of doing circles in different parts of the community, we've been asked to be training people. And so we started out doing this 2 or 3 days, and it was hard for people to get off of work for that. And so Heather and I developed a 1-day, very intensive training, which Connor was at, an important part of this training is the follow-up, that we meet with people who've been trained afterwards, and then also we have a monthly Circle Keepers gathering. So everybody who's been trained to gather and learn from each other and hear what is happening in the city, how they are keeping circles in different parts of the city, schools, organizations, nonprofits. So we're basically developing a Circle Keeper community. Our next training is February 3rd, and if you want information on that, we can share that with you. Our approach to training is that when you learn it, you should first do it with the organization that you're with, not immediately take it to the students. So if the school is interested, the idea is people would come and get the training and then do it within their staff, basically practicing doing that, and so that they can really own it and then know how to share it with their students.
It's not something we do to people, it's something we do with people. And we start with ourselves always. Oscar Reed, who one of our teachers from Minnesota just said, you got to get this for yourself. So this is why we wanted to sit in circle with you today, so you could just feel what it feels like. So with that, shall we close?
You are my other me.
You are my other me.
If I do harm to you,
I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I talked about competition.